Despite his exalted position and immense personal wealth, Mao Zedong just couldn't go quietly into the night. Annoyed and irritated by the younger rising stars of the party, Mao concluded the only way to retain control of his revolutionary government was another revolution. Now you may ask yourself, how can the most powerful figure of both party and state orchestrate a revolution against party and state? Well, somehow Mao found a way. He went down to the basement, dusted off the old propaganda machine, and began pumping out reams and reams of outlandish gobbledygook. He hurled slanderous and malicious accusations like they were frisbees, denouncing his erstwhile friends and colleagues with no evidence and without a second thought. Mao declared that counter-revolutionary bourgeoisie elements had infiltrated the glorious People's Republic of China, and that only the pure and unspoiled youth could be relied upon to right the ship. To impress the youngsters, Mao even ripped off his shirt in public and went for a swim in the Yangtze River, almost certainly the first bath he had had since 1925. The local population of river carp has never recovered. These are historical facts. Still, Mao was onto something here. He correctly perceived there was an untapped, nearly limitless supply of frothing, senseless goons he could bend and twist to his purposes. They were called children, and he used the apparatus of the so-called education system to indoctrinate these, in their own way innocent victims, into his great proletarian cultural revolution. My God, not even Karl Marx thought that up. As we all know, young people are not only the most careful and responsible members of society, they are also the most enlightened, judicious, and sagacious. As with the peasants 40 years earlier, Mao provoked these youngsters into fits of hysteria, empowering them to believe they were right about everything so long as everything they were right about was in his little red book. Pretty incredible and totally believable that every oddity or mystery of life can be answered by a little red book. Of course, I'm being facetious. All the damn thing was a compendium of Mao's numerous idiotic quotations. In case you're curious, here's the first one I happened to look up.
We should support whatever enemy opposes, and oppose whatever enemy support.
Well, that's not confusing. What if the enemy starts supporting what you currently support? Do you have to start opposing what you previously supported? Explain. Never mind, I don't even want to hear it. How about this one?
The socialist system will eventually replace capitalist system. Is objective raw independent of man's will.
Well, if that's true, why bother having a revolution at all? Why not just wait around? Write a couple of pamphlets or whatever and, just enjoy life. Oh, but I keep forgetting. Revolutions are just too much dang fun. You youngsters want some real wisdom? Here's a quotation for you. I call it O'Flannery's first law. Those who read little believe every little thing they read. Try that one on for size, why don't you? To direct the formless fury of the youngsters, Mao drew their attention to what he called the 4 O's. These being old customs, old culture, old habits, and old ideas. He conveniently left out old chairmen of political parties, but that goes without saying. He christened his teenaged revolutionaries the Red Guards, and in 1966 unleashed them like a typhoon against the unsuspecting Chinese population. Almost overnight, China was transformed into a modern-day college campus. Among other things, these maniacs tore down street signs and replaced them with new ones, all named after Mao Zedong, rendering basic city navigation utterly impossible. Any of this sound familiar to you? I swear I've seen something like this recently. got so much worse. The Red Guards indiscriminately tore down statues and monuments, some hundreds or even thousands of years old. They broke into local shrines and monasteries and burned everything they could get their filthy, grubby hands on. The monks, despite all their years of intense martial arts training, also happened to be moronic pacifists who could only watch in barely restrained revulsion. The mayhem knew no limits. Ancient cemeteries were desecrated. Old tombs were vandalized. Some even dug up the bones of former emperors and pissed on them. More egregious still was the senseless destruction of millions of pages of Chinese writing. Everything from Confucian texts to classical Tang poetry. All were thoughtlessly burned and are now forever lost. Who knows, there might have been a cure for cancer somewhere in there. Probably not, but still. It's a funny kind of education that encourages students to burn and not to read. The Red Guards were also fond of subjecting their elders to humiliating displays of public contrition. Whole families were ripped apart by this generational strife. Fathers pitted against sons, mothers pitted against daughters, dunce caps shoved onto the heads of teachers, dogs forced to watch cats fornicating. I mean, can you just imagine being harangued by someone like this little twerp?
Hello, everyone.
Shut up, you. This is my grandson, by the way. I forget his name, but he's what you might call a cretin. Even Madame Mao got in on the action.
Nasty woman.
Forming the notorious Gang of Four with, 3 other people. Their specialty was to recruit elite paramilitary outfits from the cream of the Red Guard, then dispatch these roving goon squads to berate, intimidate, and occasionally torture other communist officials. Their crimes could be anything. They might be badly incompetent, or altogether too competent, or guilty of demonstrating insufficient adherence to Mao Zedong thought. However, the madness only truly reached its apex with the onset of the Guangji massacre. An event so deranged and bestial, it strains the bounds of civilized credulity. Across several villages in Guangji province, student revolutionaries, in the grasp of a collective delirium that defies all understanding of human behavior, attacked, tortured, raped, and killed their own parents, teachers, classmates, and any party officials deemed unworthy of the name. They tied sticks of dynamite to their fellow classmates and lit the fuse. They performed ritual disemboweling on live victims, cheering and laughing at what they must have thought was fine sport. Most abominably of all, they cut out the hearts and livers of those they murdered and ceremonially consumed them. Such ritualistic cannibalism is unheard of in all except the most remote and primitive societies. China, who had given the world silk and paper, who had accomplished such marvelous feats of engineering, who had constructed such beautiful temples and pavilions, who had begun to peer into the secrets of the cosmos and the vagaries of the human soul, that fascinating and venerable nation had been reduced to this.